Hola community, welcome to BlenderToday live. We are streaming from the Blender HQ about what's new in Blender. This week, these 2 weeks, it's been about Blender 4.4 mainly. Again, making Blender stable. The last time we chat, it was right on the day that Blender 4.4 will go from alpha to beta, which means that it is really encouraged that you all go test it. Since then, there has been some development. Some of it actually even made it into 4.4. It's mainly about catching up with the few features that have been added to that release, but also to make Blender itself more stable and even or even more coherent, or the UI more easy to navigate. That is also part of Blender 4.5, which is now in alpha, and that is the 4.5 is an LTS too, by the way. So that is a good reason to go to make an update in 4.4, because remember, it's not that many new things. It's mainly about stability, and also because it's a keeper before the 4.5 LTS, which it's also another one that you may want to keep around. But as LTSs get 2 years of support, maybe you can wait on that one. However, if you are on LTS release, you may want to go to blender.org. Blender.org/LTS will take you to the page where you can find everything that has to do with the LTSs that are active. There's always 2 or sometimes 3 LTSs active, which developers love, I believe. It shouldn't happen again. It's just with the overlap of the previous one LTS, which was until September, and then usually it's at the middle of the year that these LTSs get released. For example, 3.6 LTS, it's still getting updates. Actually, today, Tuesday, got Blender 3.6.21 release. The release only has 3 bug fixes, actually 1 crash, and then some weight paint and bone rotation. So it's pretty small, but if you haven't been updating, remember that LTSs don't get any new feature, just bug fixes. So it's a highly recommended, or if not mandatory almost, to use it. All your add-ons will continue to be compatible with it. If you use the installer on Windows, it will replace the current one. You don't have to reinstall anything again because your preferences are in the same folder. So really, there's no reason not to update your Blender LTS. So if you watch a tutorial of someone using 4.2 LTS, and you see at the bottom that they are not using Blender 4.2.7, which came out today, just tell them, it's like, hey, you're missing out on a bunch of bug fixes, like crash on startup on macOS 15. That's kind of a big one. Crash when using subdivision modifier, or cycles NVIDIA artifacts with using HDRIs, or so many more. So really, no reason to stay behind. While you're watching this video, go download your latest LTS, keep it up to date. Blender 4.3, it doesn't have any more updates because only had 2, 4.3.2. But again, try the beta of Blender 4.4. If you click on the beta, by the way, we added this notice here when people are downloading it. So it's a reminder, and go here. I know it's tempting to click on the alpha, beautiful red color. Go beta. Beta is beta. Blender 6 when in by the way, we are streaming live, so I'm reading the chat and following here what your guys are saying and gals. The Greg says Blender 6 when? Well, this year is Blender 5, so November Blender 5. In July, well, let's go back. Blender 4.4 comes out in, I'm really yellow. The lamp is yellow. I'm not sick, by the way. Blender 4.4 comes out in March 18th, I believe. Blender 4.5 comes out in July, and Blender 5 comes out in November if everything goes according to plan, mid-November and around and for July. So how do I know these dates? Well, because every day I go to blender.org or projects.blender.org, and on the sidebar you can find, well, sidebar depends on how you browse the website, but it's if you're logged in, it's on the sidebar. You can find here all the active releases, one of them 4.5 LTS, 4.4, and on each one you get to see the schedule for each release. So 4.5 is the 15th of July. Good thing I didn't say 25 because I was gonna say that. Let's see. Okay, let's continue. What else is new this week? Not much. I'm gonna mention the Blender Studio, but this is not an advertisement because I'm going to share that there are new articles that are free for everyone. You don't need a subscription. I'm not even logged in here, as you can see. I'm not even logged in. So you go to the blog, and there is one article by Hjalti on designing the poster for Charge. So you can see the videos, see a description of how it was made. You can see more videos, description. What is that? Oh, this is the old. Ooh, nice. This is the collage basically. So the step by step, how everything got together. Nice. And the final file, you can also download it here. You can see it. Nice. And there's also about creating poster for Wing It. Nice. Since when? Oh, last week on the 11th of February. Also free for everyone. Again, I'm not logged in. I'm not trying to sell you anything. It's just cool stuff that the people here at the studio downstairs are putting out. So you should check it out. Also, development log for Papercraft Woods of the Project Dog Walk. This, if you haven't been keeping up with the news, Blender's making a game again. Yeah, not in the game engine, on the Blender game engine or ABGE, but on Godot. And why Godot? Well, that is the title of the latest video by the Blender Studio. If you scroll all the way down, you will find the link to many places. One of them, YouTube, Blue Sky, other places. On YouTube, the team has been posting updates, and now the production logs, you will find the list of videos. I made this list nice. Yesterday I added this production log, Why Godot, and that is the name of the title, Why Godot. So if you're interested in it, go check it out. I'm gonna share a link as well, so you all check it out. Nice. All right, now let's go back to what is new in. Oh, so many articles. Like every week they're putting out an article. 18, 16, 11, 23 January, 27. Wow, nice, good job. If any of you are watching. Okay, time to go see what is new in Blender as of this week. For that, well, by the way, I made a thread on Blender Community, which you can go and it's on the description as well. You can see the entire list of changes, which I'm going to go through today for the last 2 weeks. I'm not going to talk about every single commit because there is about 268 commits. 120 are fixes, some of them are cleanup. And I just remember that last episode, I mentioned I skipped through the fixes. Sorry again. I need some liquids in my throat. The last time, I mentioned about I skipped like more than 100 fixes, I think. And even though they are not new features, so that's why I don't mention them, some of them are new features. Basically, they're almost new features because they fixed something that was completely broken and unusable. So I think I'm gonna start going through the changes or through the fixes as well in the upcoming episodes of Blender Today. There is I want more caminantes. Thank you, Pablo. I have just happened to have like ta-da, the swag. All right. When are the community survey results? Good question. The results are there, just need to make them pretty. So that is tomorrow. I have a meeting with Francesco. We're gonna go through it and try to release it as soon as possible. It should be out before the release of Blender 4.4. That would be the best thing. Okay. Now let's actually see what's new in Blender. So we just mentioned 468 commits, of which many are fixes, cleanups, and there's also a bunch of refactors. So we're gonna go through them as much as we can. Some of them are API documentation, which you may not be interested, but the links are there if you want to see them in the description. There is in the anim and animation section of this week. We can start with the animation. There are some things to do with slots. Remember, the animation action slots are one of the few features that are new in Blender 4.4, and the team is working on making them basically well, slots were there before but not exposed, and they're working on it to make it super nice. But they're even removing things related to animation layers, which is a feature that many people want, but it's not there yet. So you will find that there are comments like ensure that slot identifiers are properly set, or make copy paste aware of slots, so you can copy paste frames and it will copy to the right place, and it will follow the slots. Super nice as well. Then adding RNA properties for Python scripts to use the channel bags, which I didn't know this. They were using this, what is channel bag or a Chanel bag. I guess it's a bag of channels. And then they removed some, well, not removed, but commented out some properties like influence and mix modes for animation or action layers, which is something that many people are requesting. It is part of the system. Basically, the new animation system in Blender supports animation layers, and at the moment, only one layer is allowed, is inserted, and it's not exposed to the user. But it is part of this Animation 2025 project. We are in 2025. Developers are aware of that. Yeah, just keep in mind that these kind of things, we shouldn't just say dates to anything. I'm gonna lower the saturation in me because I was getting a bit too yellow. I hope you don't notice that I'm switching screens that much. If I did it correctly, maybe I shouldn't have said it and pretend it was all happening under the scenes, but you know, behind the scenes. But this is a one-man show. You know what else is a one-man show? I don't know. Well, actually, overriding transform logs. That is a one-person job. Well, not a one person. Many people work on overrides, but it's mainly Bastian. And a new feature just landed, which is allow overriding transform locks on post bones. So this is huge, actually. Are you used overrides? Well, this means that you can bring in a character into your scene, then you can override the lock of a bone. So if the rigger set up the transforms of one specific bone to be locked, and you really want to unlock it because you want to do some crazy stuff with it, then now you can. You just override the lock icon for it, and you should be able to edit it. Super nice. And if you look at the code, you see that to make something overridable, it's literally just one line of code on that property. Of course, you have to make sure that it actually works and it works as expected. So that's why developers carefully check what can be and what cannot be overridden. But sometimes some settings just, they are forgotten, or when they were placed, or they maybe just don't work really well, maybe it needs testing. So if you compile your own Blender, you can actually add the override to everything just to check if it works. But yeah, don't do that, and then report issues because people are gonna be confused. All right, let's see what else is happening here. We continue with the letter A. Remember, we do all this in alphabetic order. There is A for assets. There is 3 commits with the same name, but you shouldn't do that. However, if you click on it, you get to see that there is some PRs related to brush assets, Blender assets. There's a repository for Blender assets. These are the essential assets, the one that come with Blender, and they are related to changes in Sculpt brushes. So we're gonna cover those in the Sculpt section. Let's continue with the letter B, and B for, well, PPY, fixed weak access. It's okay. Build. This is more interesting. This is when you build Blender, you're gonna see many of these changes in the side of libraries. For example, right, enable custom USC's namespace. This is a fix mainly, opens up the patches, but hey, upgrade Intel graphics compiler. Yep, there is now a higher requirement for the version of Intel graphics drivers for Linux. There is another change that we're gonna see later related to this. How about NVIDIA users? Now you can use your super new NVIDIA graphics card 5090, 50 whatever, the 50 series Blackwell on OpenImage Denoise and also on Cycles. We're gonna see that later. You need CUDA Toolkit 12.8 plus. It's also, it's also about a 4.4. Nice. What else? Removing dependencies, fixing stuff in the build. CMake is also related to building Blender, and then a bunch of cleanups. There is a whole lot of cleanups. Vulkan related, for example. Renaming. Most of these changes should just be cleanups, so you shouldn't see like new features, or fixes. They're just cleanups, renaming things, making things more consistent, the code more easy to read, to develop. So this we can skip, although it's a lot of work and is really needed for Blender to be accessible to other developers. And then we switch to Compositor. The Compositor side of things has been under testing. There is new test for pixel nodes that affect on a pixel level, regression test for the file output node, and the file output node needs it because there is a change coming that it's not here, but it will basically you probably run into, if you use the file output node, you probably run into the issue that if you have a file output node, it will Blender, every time it runs, it will output to that file that you specified, but also the output path that you set in the scene properties, and that is very confusing. So there is a change on that. However, it's a breaking change because you probably are using that. I don't know why would you use it. It's very confusing, but you might have been using that. So it needs to be communicated, or maybe wait for either 4.5 and communicate it properly, or maybe 5.0 and just, it's how things work now. All right, let's see. Let's continue. How's everybody doing in the chat? Thanks for the nice messages. Checking it here. Okay, core. Wow, this is a change in the core of Blender that it's mainly related if you're a developer or if you are like an add-on developer, a Python developer, because now you can access, well, basically the Blender, each RNA now data will store like a chain of ancestors. Like it can go up to, it's easier if you just see it here. So there is an example here. So now you can access the for example, the RNA ancestors of a layer collection, and then you can see that what are the ancestors? It's a view layer and the scene in this case, right? A layer has many ancestors. So the same for objects and other properties in Python. So if you're not a developer, you're probably not gonna use it, but it is a big change. I think they were waiting, like the moment Blender 4.5 alpha started, they added this patch, because also that's something else that you may not be aware of, but big releases like 4.0, 3.0, 5.0 are maybe a good time to break things if necessary, of course, not just for the sake of breaking, but to make Blender more future-proof, or change things for consistency, or clean up the code. So Blender 5 might have those. Well, actually, it will have some compatibility issues changes, which are highlighted for a while now in the developer docs, developer.blender.org/docs, compatibility 5.0. There is already a list of changes, and there will be more. However, in 4.5, the LTS, so every time there is a big release, the previous release is an LTS, in this case 4.5. So the plan is, if something is gonna break in 5.0, then users should be able to go back to 4.5 and have things more or less working. What does it mean? That developers add a new feature in 5.0 and then some compatibility layer to it in 4.5. So there is always like this fallback. Or for example, if Python API changes and your add-on relies on specific Python API, the idea, in theory, and there are some examples already, I think, happening in the video sequence editor and some other areas, where developers will, if they need to rename a property and break all the add-ons that use that property, 4.5 will have, in some cases, both properties. So the new property name and the old one. So you can start, even a release ahead of time, start to use the new property for 4.5 and the old one for previous versions. So if you support that LTS, you will be compatible with 4.5 and 5.0. So it's a nice trade-off. I hope I explained it. Okay, time to move on. Let's continue with the sea of cycles. Berkeley Diffuse closure for Material X compatibility. Add Berkeley Diffuse to Open Shading Language for Material X compatibility. Nice. Burley, I hope I said it properly. Add Blackwell to Cycles CUDA binaries architectures. Nice. So if CUDA Toolkit version 12.8 or higher is installed, use this to compile the binaries for newer graphics cards that use the Blackwell architecture, such as the RTX 5090. And did you know that there is already some data of the 5090, and you can actually see in the lands on the homepage of opendata.blender.org, the benchmark website, you can already see that RTX 5090 is this much faster than an RTX 4090, which is pretty big. But I don't know if you don't have a 4090, maybe good chance, but good opportunity. But also maybe if you use DLSS 4 or do a lot of gaming. But in terms of raw power for cycles rendering, it's a big change, but depends on your needs, right? Because it's also super expensive. Maybe there are other parts of your computer that you can upgrade before and switching to the latest and greatest. It is pretty big though. It's a 4,000. So an RTX 4090 is around 10,000, 11,000, and a 5090 is close to 15,000. So there is 4,000 score more, which is the equivalent of an RTX. Let's continue with the RTX. Okay, an RTX 3080-ish. Yeah, kind of. So if you had a 4090 and add a 3080, you get a 5090, kind of, according to this, which is very scientific, by the way. Okay, let's go back to the changes. change the integration measure in Huang hair from gamma to H. What does it mean? Well, it is very subtle. You can't really tell the difference. However, it is slightly faster, from 11 seconds to 10 seconds. And this is just 0.10, 0.11 seconds faster. So yeah, you're not gonna notice, but it's slightly faster now to render with Huang hair. And the change is done by Wisen Huang. Nice. Next, enable kernels compression. You may notice that Blender is now slightly lighter to download. When you download Blender, you download not just Blender, but a whole bunch of kernels for cycles, for example. This makes Blender big, and in this case, of course, Metal, macOS doesn't have that. That's why, I don't know if you noticed, but blender.org download page, that Blender on macOS is much lighter than in other operating systems, because because Metal already comes with the operating system, so you don't have to deal too much on this. Whereas the other versions, they are slightly bigger. Linux is also fairly slim, and now will be slimmer because the OpenAPI kernels are gonna be compressed, which means only when you need them, they're gonna be uncompressed, and then you use them. So for people who not have an Intel graphics or something that uses these, pretty nice. Okay, how much smaller it is? Actually uncompressed, 200 megabytes smaller almost. Huge. And compressed, when you download Blender, 400 megabytes to 369. Nice. And yeah, it's a green change even for the environment, because you spend less download and compression, and I guess. And finally, optimize texture access on graphics, on Intel graphics cards, which we were just talking about, on a A770 and a V580, around between 1 and 11% faster. Neat. A whole bunch of changes in the draw manager. When you see DRW, it means draw manager. So everything that has to do with like overlays and gizmos and everything, it's like this is drawing that is not rendering, like Workbench or Eevee. Dependencies, more under the hood stuff for building Blender. However, there is one that is interesting. If you build Blender on Windows, now it will be a lot faster to build a release build, for example. The build time for shader C, I guess is shader compilation, went from 185 seconds to 47. And the release libraries also went down a lot, so total saving about 5 minutes. Not bad, which also means good things for the build bot. Every time the build bot gets kicked to compile Blender commits and test things, it's gonna be faster. So nice. A lot of documentation. Eevee, a block list on GPU test pass, nothing new there. It's just for Metal to pass some tests, which actually I think is just avoiding the issue. It's a workaround until there is a fix for it. So it's actually less things on macOS for Eevee in this case. It's just 2 files that fail to compile, to pass the test. Rachel asks, when is 4.4 LTS coming? 4.4 is not an LTS, it's a regular release. However, it is much more stable at 4.3 because the focus was on adding new features, adding bug fixes. So it's not an LTS, so it's not gonna have support, active support for 2 years. However, it will be pretty stable, I think. Let's see. Extensions. There is so for the E for extensions, there is 2 improvements to reports. So previously, if there was any error setting up the wheels, like the dependencies of your extensions, of your add-ons, Blender will just fail silently. Well, not totally silently, because it will show up in the terminal, which if you don't use a terminal, highly recommend that you use a terminal, because you get to see a lot of reports that are not shown in the UI sometimes, like this one. Now it is shown in the UI. So this should work much better. Fixes, so many fixes. Some of them are crashes, some of them are conflicts, Python stuff. Some of them are visual little fixes that haven't even been reported, but awesome people like Harley noticed it and they improved it. Like this thing, it used to jump. The FPS numbers used to jump for some reason, and now it's nice and stable. Quiet. Although to me, it's still weird that we show the frame number in like parentheses. What is that even? Like, why is that? Because frame numbers, well, that number, if you pay attention to it, it looks like it could be like the user count of a data block. It's just weird. Also, FPS in the viewport, when it doesn't rely on the viewport, it's also weird. Blender globally has a FPS count. I think they should be either on the status bar or somewhere else. But it's nice that now it doesn't jiggle. Jiggle. Crashes, pointers, link errors, VSE duplicating snapping values, draw manager, all sorts of things, fixes, material X, and so much and so forth by these amazing people. So super nice. Oh, and there is even spoilers of new features in this. So maybe I should Crazy Space broken. It was so broken that it needed 2 fixes. Okay, let's go down to see more of the new features, because you can see this list is linked in the description. Let's see. Somebody suggests having frame 23, but that would add a new line, right? Otherwise it would be a bit weird to have. Let's see. I don't know why I'm not wearing my glasses. Okay, oh wow, there you are. Let's see. So many more fixes. Just so you appreciate, 120 bug fixes in the last 2 weeks only. But Pablo, why do they add bugs in the first place? Well, that's a very good question. They don't add it. They just, you know, can't keep some things from happening. The next change also in F, because the developer forgot to change the commit message, and it is F for VFX platform 2025 and more. This is great news. We are already in 2025, so Blender 4.4, the first release of the year, is already aligning with the VFX platform 2025. If you don't know what it is, I always mention it, vfxplatform.com. It's just a list of libraries and versions of libraries that the studios can follow to align and hopefully make participation, collaboration easier. And in this case, Boost got removed. Nice. That's a nice one. If there were no bugs, there won't be any updates. What do you mean? There are updates that happen to have bugs on them, but Julian Dorur updated GLTF to prepare for 4.5. GPU tests have been added. Geometry node. All right, we arrived to the very first feature of the big feature of the day. A new node in town. Geometry nodes. CSV import node. I know many people have been asking for it, and here it is. You can import a CSV, so all your spreadsheets into people are reacting with hearts now. I saw you hearting. Yeah, highly requested feature. Import CSV as point cloud. Oh, that's why there's so many point cloud changes. Spoiler alert, but there are point cloud updates. So it looks fairly simple, right? You just give it a path, which is a string, which you can modify and now outputs a point cloud. So scientific visualizations will be improved, I assume. And lots of hearts. Let me give it another heart. So cool. Awesome. Thank you, Devashish Lal, for and congrats, because it was the summer of code 2024. So cool. Nice. The interface is minimal, just a file input. The type of column is chosen by whether the first value is an integer or a float. Those are currently only the supported types. So integer and float. If the first value is an integer, the whole column is an integer, and the same for floats. So cool. Nice. Awesome. A new node in town. And this is for Blender 4.5. It's in main. So yes. And it was committed last week before the yes. All right. And Hans did a little improvement over there. Grease. Pencil. All right. So Python. A lot of Python here. Add base class for layer and layer groups. Add the next and previous node to Grease Pencil 3 node. Merge Grease Pencil instance. And finally, add Python operator for masking with above below layer by Jane. Why a Python operator? Add a new Python operator to Grease Pencil for adding a new layer for masking. Create a new file. So what does it do? It merges up and down. Mask active layer. Mask the active layer with the layer above or below. Oh, okay. So the operator is written in Python, but it is actually accessible from the UI. It's in the drop-down menu, I assume. Let's see. Ah, yes, add layer extra, and it's called mask with layer above, mask with layer below. Nice. Cool. Awesome. So yeah, I was a bit confused. Maybe it's not really the fact that it's Python could be mentioned in here, but maybe the title could just be add operator. The fact that it's Python or not is really not relevant. And at first I thought it was the only Python available. Okay, continue. Let's continue with a lot of internationalization and translation stuff. Library updates, so many that need 2 commits for Linux and Mac OS. In Mac OS, I show you actually this on the last time because it was committed right there. Yeah, that now on well, actually I can show you this myself just by opening Blender. And I don't know if you noticed, but the color of the UI matches the color in Blender. So light also shows light, dark shows light, shows dark. And if we go and search for themes, and the blueprint theme, well, okay, happens to have botanesque. Oh, they all have a black orange dark plus they all have, what is it with people? Piano white. This is gonna be super white. There you go. Nice. And graphite. Okay, slightly bluish. Oh, but here you can see how it blends. Onyx. Nice. Isn't it amazing that we have this, that we can just browse themes from the web and that you can share your own themes? I still am amazed by how nice it's to be able to do just to browse the web from Blender. So cool. Anyways, now I have a bunch of extensions, add-ons, themes from here. I'm gonna go back to reset. One day we're gonna fix, because now it says citrus dark, but it's not citrus dark. So the reset button should probably clear this and go back to dark, which is the default, right? Because you reset and then, yeah. Okay. Let's move on. There is also updated libraries for Mac OS. Material X support sheen distribution input for microfiber and Celtner. Is there any nice picture? No. Can we have nice pictures? Yes, we can. Neat. So it's 1. This is 2. Microfiber. Nice. By Lucas Stockner. No, actually the commit is by Pablo Delgado Kramer. Math changes by Brecht. Fixing build stuff. Mesh optimizations. There is optimized vertex to edge attribute interpolation. Nice. 1.7 performance improvement on an 8 million edge mesh. Nice. And this was by Hans. And this one, Grid Fill, now supports replacing existing faces. Oh wow, and he has a nice videos. Thanks, Jason. Let's see. Oh, nice. I always run into this. This is kind of amazing, and I'm just let's see it in action. How did I miss this? Are people tweeting about this in the Fediverse? So yes, I ran into this several times. Run. Even shortest path works with that. I wouldn't expect it. Face. Grid fill. And then just works. Clap, 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 clap. So cool. Nice. I didn't know. Hey, who says that we are not getting modeling updates? We are, thanks to Jason here. And Campbell and Howard for reviewing it. But that's so cool. Nice. So nice to see developers working on features that sometimes are like not forgotten, but they're, you know, they work. There's workarounds, and going back to fix those or improve them. It's awesome. Nice. Thank you, Jason. And thank you, Hans, for making modeling faster and anything mesh related faster and anything in Blender faster. Metal changes, nothing too relevant. And DOF, so n degrees of freedom. So the like the space navigator controllers, a bunch of changes in there. Interesting. Implement new method to pick the orbit center. So this is based on a PR by someone else, based on a bug report about the Space Mouse Center. Neat. And they're all by Campbell. Enable auto center, show orbit by default. How many of you use the end of settings in Blender, or like one of these devices in Blender? I'm curious. So many changes. And I tried using once and I couldn't get used to it, but I can see the potential if you get used to it. Let's see. Object. Prevent unnecessary depth grab tags for no... Oh, nice. So prevent calculations, but they are not needed, which dependency graph updates are very expensive in cases like sculpt mode, where we purposely avoid adding tags elsewhere. Neat. Next. Overlay, just internal changes. Before point cloud. There are several changes here. I didn't even... Dalai was involved in this. Oh my god. Point cloud is getting first class citizen treatment. So we can actually... I mean, it's all very basic operations, but they are not available. Expose the 3D cursor, annotation, and the ruler tools. And look at the head of product committing a HTML. in the commit message, but it exposes some, yeah, basically adding the point cloud edit mode tools were not available. That's good to see. Is this in 4.4? Oh no, it wasn't main, but this is a fix, such a small fix. This could go on 4.4. Let's see. Select all non-invert. An operator to select all items. 3 days ago by Dalais. I didn't know point clouds were a project at the moment, but I love this. I mean, it is. Can I? Well, how do you even add a point cloud? You need to add up on a VDV file, right? Because if you add a point cloud, by default, it doesn't have much. Volume, yeah, empty. Still good to see when you import. Implement set attribute operator. Implement affect only origins operator. Implement box, circle, lasso, select tools, or lasso, how you say it. Transform operators. Add cache full points VVH tree. Add transform operations. Duplicate operator. Select pick, edit mode, undo system. We can now undo point clouds. We live in the future. Delete. Can now delete, and even separate point clouds into other point clouds. You need to enable the add. Okay, thanks for the heads up. Point is still, it's still a prototype. There you go. And now there is edit mode, and I can select. I'm in edit mode. Okay, A doesn't do anything, but I can duplicate. Just the overlay is not. Okay, I am selecting. Just the overlay is not. Ooh. Shift D. Shift D. What? Okay, view selected is not implemented. So if I no. Huh. This is interesting. Selection overlay don't work yet. Part of which project is this? Physics? And it's awesome to see it happening. So cool. Nice. Are you drinking mate? Of course I am. I'm Argentinian. And it's good for you. If you don't like to drink too much coffee or tea, it's I don't know if it's good, technically good for you. I shouldn't be promoting it, but some places people drink it since hundreds of years, and it's all good. By API, plenty of documentation, changes, fixes. PyDoc also related to that. RNA. This is one of the reasons why I like to go through all the changes, because sometimes features get added in the wrong places. Well, it's not technically wrong, but for example, this one, it says RNA, add save copy option to image save function. If this, I don't know, like maybe if someone else was making this list, or it would be very easy to just delete the whole section for a live stream, because I wouldn't share that on a live stream because it's boring. Sometimes just like, yeah, like, well, what do you even care about, you know, very internal changes. However, the first one, add save copy option to image save function. Yes, it is an RNA change, so it's only accessible via Python, but it is a new feature. Basically, this feature allows to save an image to a given path without updating the source path of the image ID itself. Same way as Blender has a save copy option in Blender, which has the advantage when you do save copy, it saves without changing the path of my current file. So in this case, it was added to the image save copy, and I think it's because of an add-on, that a new extension that made it here, which is related to texture autosave texture. This is an add-on, an extension that was made by Bastian. He works here at the studio, because one of the studio artists downstairs, they were working in Blender, painting textures, and forgot to save. And autosave doesn't autosave textures. So Bastian is awesome, went and made an extension for it to save it. However, it's a prototype, because you would think it's like, okay, why a core developer is making an extension, an add-on for a feature that is so basic as autosave? Well, because it's a prototype. This is a quick way to get things running and fixing it. It's more like TV work for a studio. And also, how is the UI? Because autosave textures, maybe not everybody wants it, right? You're painting just for fun. You don't want it to autosave at the same time. So it should be optional. So thanks to this, it has been, and there's a new design task. I don't have it right here, but Dalai made a new design task, and we need to discuss how to implement this feature in Blender. But it is a it's fun to see, right? Like how things work. Sometimes it's just faster to make an add-on and fix it. Even for developers that know Blender inside out, it is sometimes faster. Anyways, that's why I was sharing with you. I think it was for that, and there is a new option. However, do you think we should expose this feature? It's just a new option called save copy, so we could technically expose this in the image editor, right? For image editor, then image, we could have save and then save copy. So you have save a copy. Is that wait, this is not exposed. Maybe it was exposed in another commit, because it is it's literally that setting on, and this is just adding the RNA option. How do I know? Well, because if you leave the mouse over, you see that the Python operator, it's the one that I was just looking at. Okay. I know this is save copy, and the other operator is save as copy. No, save as copy true. Huh? This is in the save operator. Image save. Oh, it's to save without a prompt, not save as. Save copy without prompt. That's why you probably don't want to expose it. Nice. Is it fun to see, or boring to see my thinking process? Trying to find out why developers do things one way or another. I hope it's eye-opening in a nice way, or just so you see my smooth brain trying to understand certain decisions. Refactors, so many refactors. Most of them shouldn't have impact for final users, but you might see that there are, like, some of them are things that were long in the queue to get done, to improve in organization, move more things to C++, to modernize the code, and so on and so forth. Release changes, release tools. There is by the way, there is a tool for developers to make a list of bug fixes from 4.4, well, from between releases. This is great because that means that in the release notes of blender.org, we can make a list of all the bug fixes. We're not mentioning it here. I think we didn't. Did we do it for 4. Yeah, we did it for 4.3 already, and the list of bug fixes is huge. We can do that for 4.4. I think it's going to be even bigger. So good to see. Oh, in the release notes, you can already see the change of minimum driver versions for AMD and Intel GPU. Let's see. Reverts. There's always, can always undo things. The S for Sculpt has 3 changes. 1 by Nicola. Add plain brush type. A new plain brush type. This patch introduces a plain brush, a generalization of the existing flatten, fill, and scrape brushes, with the objective of providing more flexibility when sculpting. Wow. Community contribution. Oh, nice. Key features: height and depth parameters to control the range of the brush in the local z-axis. Stabilizers for the normal and center of the brush plane. Flatten moves the vertices towards the brush plane. Scrape moves the vertices towards the brush plane, but only if they're above it. And then fill moves the vertices towards the brush plane, but only if they're below it. Neat. Smoothness of your brain is indeed pleasing. Thanks, Carpenter. Andres says, I will be happy to have 5.0 breaking changes if we had 4.6, 4.7, 4.8, and 4.9. With those extra months to make use of the build and the extra time for... It's not an extra month. If we had Blender 4.6, 7, 8, and 9, that means we have 3 releases a year. That would mean 1.5, 1.25 more years of Blender 4. You can't have 5.0 open with breaking changes and then start and migrate things from 4.4, 4.6, 7, 8, 9. Also, that would mean that there will be 4.8 LTS. It's just too much. A whole other year without 1.5 years more. No, you don't want to wait 3-4 years for a major release. It's just... No. Why so many years? 4 or 5. It's not a World Cup. 5 years every major release. Life is short. Let's get on with, you know, big, better, clean up Blender, make it slim. That's why we have a that's why we have Blender 5, Death of the Fake User. Please system. I hope that is, well, I haven't mentioned this to anybody, but I would like to. It's one of my dreams to get rid of the fake users. It's not that hard in my head, in my smooth brain, to get rid of the fake user. Just don't delete things when you save if you have no users. Just put them on a trash bin, right? On the garbage bin. And then the user can decide when to delete things. So, as for another live stream, let's continue with what is. Look at these amazing drawings that the developer is making to make you understand this new plane brush type. So cool. Check it out. Thanks, Nicola. Then improve node tools performance for simpler changes by hands. This is a performance improvement. Nice. How much faster it is. Much better performance for most simple node tools, such as deform the mesh or change masks or face sets. Sculpt node tools. Wow. So many words about advanced things. Reduce overhead for multi-res index buffer creation. About a 10% improvement in the runtime for the entire index buffer creation process. Sequencer changes under the hood. Expose light path is volume scatter ray in UI. What is this? Okay, so this is related to shader. Expose light path is volume scatter ray in the UI. This commit adds the is volume scatter output to the light path node in the shader editor. All the functional code for this feature already exists in Cycled SVM and OSL, but the output wasn't exposed to the node. Really? Is there a picture? No, there's no picture. Is there code that exposes it? Yeah, there is a new output. Wow. This is all the code there is. And in the shader light, there should be is volume scatter ray. Nice. I guess that should be in the light path. So, wait, Blender is trying to compile an empty light path. There is a new, yeah, there is effectively is volume scatter ray. Nice. What would you use this for? to, well, volumetrics, of course, to make nice fog, maybe. Let's see. Compositor bloom sucks, says Meshing. Okay, you make a nice one. You make a better one. No, I'm kidding. You can make a better one because I don't know if you are up to the dates. You know, Blender 4.4 and 4.5 have a much better bloom than the previous version, because not only that, the whole glare node has been improved a lot. Every option is exposed, so you can tweak all this and then choose bloom, and also all the settings are available. So you do have a if you're talking about the bloom in 4.2, 4.3, then I agree, but give it a try to the later, newer bloom in 4.4 or 5. Sound. Sync up the screen refresh timer to the audio when seeking. This fixes the case when the screen update timer will not be reset when seeking, leading to screen updates happening mid-frame. Oh. Alright, I think this might come from tests up downstairs. Neat. Better sound sync. Bunch of tests, very important. Actually, this week, Micah, the videographer, filmmaker that makes the Blender Heads series, which if you don't know, it's a series that covers the life of what happens here at the Blender Studio, and the next episode talks about developers, development, one developer in particular, and she asked what makes a good developer, and many things make a good developer. One thing I mentioned is making tests, and tests are so important because they can be run automatically and make sure that things run, but they're probably tedious to make and annoying sometimes, but they help so much. Next, tools. Okay, this is also tools for under the hood of GT in general, and we can talk about user interface. Nice, the visual stuff. All right, first one. Nika added a indicator in edit mode that shows you the name of the mesh data or object data that you're editing. So for the cube, it's a bit silly. You enter edit mode. So when you're in object mode, you see the collection name and then the object name. When you are in edit mode, you see cube. What is that? The object name and the object data. So it is a bit redundant when you just have a cube, but the moment you start working with a lot of linked objects, then it gets more interesting, because you can see that this cube is called cube 005, but hey, the data is actually cube, just cube. Oh, interesting. When you draw, Blender draws on top of the overlays. Some overlays, not all of them. Like the info, and then if you release, it goes down, goes back. Nice. So now you have an indicator, which is super nice, and it matches how the armature does it. So armature object and then the bone, and now you have armature object, bone, well, data, and then now the bone. Next, more cavity properties into a sub panel. Move the cavity properties. This is just purely just visual. The cavity options, in the overlay, in the shading popover, were like kind of sandwiched in between, and it's not really nice because the option toggles more options, so it was a bit awkward. Now they are a proper sub panel, and Blender usually puts that all the way to the bottom and adds some spacing to it, but now it looks more organized. So thank you, Nika. On Windows 11, the feature that I showed you before of the window getting this, the window of your Blender getting the same color as the top bar background and header background in some editors, then now is also in Windows 11. I don't think it's available for Windows 10 API reasons, but it is on Windows 11 and Mac OS. And not on Linux, unfortunately. I don't even know if it's possible. If you do, please let us know. All right, sort transform properties for custom bone shape. Ever noticed that the bone shape, custom bone shape properties were scale, translation, and rotation, which is against everywhere else in Blender, that is translation, rotation, scale. Nice. Thank you, Edex124. Then remember Skull. Okay, this feature is so good that it needed 2 commits by Yuli and I. So this is a fix basically that makes it so that 3 views, such as, what is a 3 view? Attributes, no. Bone collections, any kind of new 3 view. Oh, Grease Pencil, V3, the list of layers with nesting, all those. Now they remember the scroll offset. So if previously, if you were scrolling halfway on the list and then switch to another tab and then come back, it would be lost. Now it's not. Thank you, Julian. Want me to test it? Let's test it. So let's add a Suzanne. This is a list view, which I'm gonna add a whole bunch of layers. I'm gonna scroll halfway, go somewhere else, come back, and it works. Yay! Happy the scroll offset is happened. Will this UI list get search? That's a goal. Actually, UI lists are supposed to go away at some point and be replaced with 3 views, but yeah, they still need to happen. So you are a developer. If you want to contribute that part, will be awesome, because it is part of the roadmap. It's just that there are so many other things going on, but it has been agreed that every feature available in UI lists, such as this collapse, sorting, and so on and so forth, all this should also be available in this kind of lists. At the moment, it's very confusing because they are the same, that they look the same. Users who don't know that these are 2 different systems might be confused. It's like, why there is search here but there is no search here. Scrolling was added fairly recently, actually. The first version, you may remember that there was no scrolling, it was always growing. So bad, so bad. Anyways, let's continue. Improve save report. Another change by Edex, that now when you save a file, the report, the notification now tells you a bit more information about what happened. It used to always say saved, but now it tells you if you saved as, saved copy, or save incremental. Just a little bit more information to make sure that you executed the right operator. Disable message before Python. Oh, nice. We discussed this the other day. So now this is just a visual change. On the left is how it used to be. Tooltip, description, Python code, and then disabled. And now it's the other way around. Now is disable text, which is more related to the actual tool itself, and it has the same font, so it looks nicer. Now it's together, and then Python at the end because it's monospace and it's unrelated, really. So cool. Small things, small things. Another small thing, literally small, because it's making the size of these huge symbols smaller, and it's about the size of these 2 lines, more or less, because it was a bit too much and it wasn't aligned with anything. Now it is properly. And also the space between lines has been tightened to, I don't know if you even have seen it, but this used to have like a full-on space like this high on all lines, and now it's been tightened. There are new theme settings to specify the color of red alert, so when something goes wrong, warnings, info, and success. New theme settings. But the colors are pretty much the same as before, but you may recognize, for example, what is an alert? For example, when a modifier goes wrong, like when armature. When I add an armature, why can't I can't type anymore? Okay, when a modifier, where is the modifier even? The form armature has a something got stuck. Okay, now okay, the color is really hard to see actually. So I think we need to fix that by changing the theme color, user interface, styles, no, state, error, and make it a bit more punchy. This color will also affect other report. What is another one? When you're gonna save on top of another file, or Dynamic Paint has some serious warnings when you try to output on fields that don't exist. So this, we might want to find a color that is, maybe we can use a similar color that we used to have, but maybe, yeah, maybe something like that. Or maybe just use a full color with some transparency, but yeah, now it is possible to specify any color, even the pink one. That actually in this case would make more sense, right? Because it's not an error, it's just not found. Next, actually this, we should be able to tweak this color, because everybody that is trying to make a render with cycles using this color, like FF00FF, they can't see if there is a missing texture basically, because the color is the same. So yeah, let's see. When you're editing a text, now Blender tells you that you can specify precision, for example, in the status bar. So more improvements to the status bar changes. So for example, if I click and drag, now if you see the status bar, Blender now tells you that you can hold shift for precision. Oh, it should also show that you can use control for step changes, and shift for precision, and alt for multiple. No, but you have to click that before. Okay, but yeah, it says precision, but maybe we should add also control or command for, no, not command, actually it's only control. I'm on a Mac and control only works, not command, to go every step. Let's see what else. New preset icons. Ah, yes. The previous icon was a bit confusing. It looked like a list for presets, but doesn't really say anything. It's not a list. It's a preset. So now it has this, a new icon by Harley. Thank you. The items in the status bar now are a bit more tightened. The space between the keys is now a bit closer. So you gain a bit more space. You can fit more content in the same status bar. Correct array size for check colors. Okay, this is just under the hood. It's a bug fix actually, and prevent button vector reallocation on the read rows. I guess this is an optimization to no response. All right, I think this is related to another task, but looks like an optimization. All right, that's pretty much it. I think we are USD. One feature in USD, there is a new plane shape default on the USD importer. Implement the USD plane shape for import, mirroring what was done for others. Neat. And VSE overdrop effect was not doing anything useful. Map to alpha over. Okay. So the overdrop is now alpha over. Yeah, I don't think I ever noticed what, or ever found out what is the overdrop. In the behavior of it was exactly the same as alpha over for the last 18 years. Crazy. Thanks, Aras, for noticing. Vulkan render and compositor test. Oh, by the way, I have Vulkan news from a very good source. Jeroen, the developer that is working on it mainly. So Vulkan, and I need to take a moment my glasses so you listen. Vulkan, the replacement for OpenGL, it's still in experimental for Blender 4.4. However, 4.5, it is expected to be feature parity. So OpenGL 4.5, OpenGL and Vulkan in 4.5 should be able to exchange between them, and please do so to report any issues, because if everything goes well, Blender 5.0 could come with Vulkan by default. It's not the like removing OpenGL or anything. That would be a huge step. That's probably Blender 6. However, making Vulkan the default is kind of big. So yes, good to see Vulkan, the project Vulkan, finally moving forward. Anyway, run Blender -- help. It should say GPU backend, and you can specify Vulkan over there. Dropping OpenGL, yes, but eventually. Okay, let's see. W for Windows. Plenty of changes on Windows. ARM64 as well, and update 64. Wow. Enable SIMD. Plenty of changes by Anthony Roberts on Windows for ARM. And by the way, so we have 4.3 has Windows ARM, right? 4.4 will have 2 in the future, so on and so forth. However, Blender 4.5 will be the last release to support macOS Intel. Blender 5.0 will only come in Apple Silicon. So just a heads up that yeah, that's a pity, because there's Intel. I mean, Intel, when was it introduced? The Apple Silicon 5-6 years ago, and the not policy, but the suggestion, the how do you call it, the recommendation for hardware to use Blender was no older than 8 to 10 years, and this is breaking that rule. I think on DevTalk you can find the actual Intel, the actual discussion, deprecation and removal for Blender 5, and you can read here what the developers say, why it needs to be done. But yeah, seems to be out of our hands, unfortunately. 6 years. Okay, almost. Not that far. Thanks, Nabambat. Next, what else? Changes in the thumbnailer, install Linux packages, libraries. All right, I think we got through everything that is new in Blender as of the last couple weeks. I will shift select all these tabs, close them, give my CPU a little bit of relief, and reload this page to see what's new. There is 12 comments, so I'm gonna go to the last one and see. All right, so first comment. I ran out of mate water. Hi Pablo, I'm finally on time to see the stream live. Thank you, Finn. Happy to have you back. What's the status of having an API exposed to get the current Blender version, download links, etc.? You mentioned that was planned once. You mean with the buildbot? There is already a buildbot builder.blender.org /API /JSON / No, where is it? Okay, so Buildbot. There is an API for it. I just don't remember what it is. Maybe if I Buildbot JSON. There is a endpoint that you can go to and get the latest build here. This one. So category would be daily, I think. There you go. So this is the URL with all the, you can get the latest stable one, the download link. Yeah, pretty much every version that is available and stable, including the non-stable, the alpha ones. So this is what some launchers use, or they should use, instead of scraping the HTML of the Buildbot page to make things, to do things properly, get all these things. All right, next. Hi Pablo, any update on the Blender store? What plans are and timelines are for it? We worked on the Blender store. We have a list of products already, and we've ordered the products. So if the Blender store.blender.org is still under construction, but we are working on a new one. Francesco and we sat down a couple of weeks ago. We found some providers for some t-shirts and hoodies and other Blender gear. We found some providers, we ordered them, so we are waiting for them for the shipment to arrive to check the quality of the items. If it's good enough, then we can open the store for everyone, because we we would like to make it. We don't have a store, physical store per se anymore. There's only one here at the studio, but there used to be a warehouse in the south of the Netherlands where things were shipped all over the world from here, from the Netherlands, and that's not sustainable. It's just too expensive to have someone doing that. So we are going to switch to those providers on demand that you like on Shopify, that you just order and you can ship it from local providers everywhere in the globe. So if someone from Australia is buying a t-shirt, that they don't get it shipped from the Netherlands. That doesn't make any sense, and not great for the environment, not great for everyone. The only good thing is that it would be shipped by us, so you can get like a sticker, or that is from Blender instead of some provider somewhere. But yeah, it's a trade-off. However, there are things that we need to ship from here, like the toys, the collectibles. Not toys, collectibles. Don't even dare to say that. They're for adults that collect toys. Those, they are shipped from here. However, I don't think it's gonna be available at on launch. So the best way to get one of those is to come to Amsterdam. Maybe come to the Blender conference in September this year. Remember, no longer in October, it is in September. That being said, let's go. Next question by Daniela Palm. Hey Pablo, really happy to see Blender Today live here and there. Thank you. It really is a special thing that Blender has, that people can check on what's new, catch up on news, and ask some questions live. No other app, 3D app community has this, and it's a wonderful tradition. Thank you, Daniel. Super nice. I do have a question. I think Ilya Katushenok is rewriting some of the backend of the distribute points on faces node for performance stuff. I think that back in the day, there was a discussion about making the node force the number of points you specify. I think the idea behind that was so GeoNode setups are more shareable. So if a node requires there to be exactly 100 points, like a Raspberry droplets or something, I think it would not matter the size of the input like it currently does. Is there any interest in this, I wonder? That's a very good question. I am not familiar with this, but it's a very specific question, which if you drop by the channel, the chat for geometry nodes for the nodes and physics module, I think you're gonna get an actual answer by the developers, because they are hanging out there, and those channels are only for development. So only if you're a technical artist, contributor, or developer, it's okay to write there and not make noise and ask user questions. However, this I think is a legit question, because it is very specific to this one case. So yeah, drop by maybe Blender Coders or the Geometry Notes channel and ask directly there to get a proper answer. I'm not familiar with it. Frost Crack Studio says. Frost Crack, I just now actually read your name. Great to see you. I hope you have a great day. I hope you too. One question. Any news about this bug? Very specific bug. So how do I find this? I go here and then go to projects of Blender / Blender issues / number. You can also paste links here. So textures not displayed in sculpt mode due to missing UVs. 6 years ago, still up. What is the latest about it? 8 months ago, it was referenced by the Sculpting by Sergey. No real news, but it's something we want to tackle as the current ongoing sculpt improvement project. I'll cross-reference the issue there. So users are aware, like developers are aware. And it is listed here, UV support while sculpting. It is listed here, and I even hearted it some time ago. So yeah, hopefully it will be tackled. It's on the list. The list is not even that long per se. So I'm hoping that it will be looked at soon. And I bet developers have had a look at it before, and maybe it's not that easy to fix. Next, hi Pablo, any updates on the NPR prototype branch? No, actually, that I know. Are they even developing that on projects of Blender.org? Or is that happening on the Dilongu? Whatever they are working on that. I haven't seen news on projects of Blender.org. Not familiar. But I think Dilongu Studios is working on that, so maybe should ask them. Hi, Pablo, says Rita. Is there any plan to make Vertex Edit available for USD cache data? As of now, it's really annoying to keep going back to Maya to edit fix again. Also, is there any plan to include USB compatibility between software just like NVIDIA Omniverse version of Blender? I've been using that feature a lot and it's really helpful, but I hear they are deprecating NVIDIA Omniverse. Any plan to include USB compatibility between software? Not sure what that, like adding compatibility to other software. Blender with Blender itself has compatibility, and I think they've been working on that. I'm not sure with other software. And to make Vertex Edit available, depends on what type of object is USD cache data using. If it's point clouds, then maybe, but I'm not familiar with it, sorry. However, again, maybe drop by the chat on the USD channel and ask there. Number bad, another question. Morning, afternoon, Pablo. Afternoon, almost night. I'm still working on that normals issue, and it turns out part of it, this is regarding a discussion from the previous episode. Part of it is because normal correction is one flag with two functions. In diffuse lighting, it knocks down highlights around the terminator. That's so much to take in for one of the last comments of a show. Let's see. It knocks down highlights around the terminator line. In glossy reflections, an incoming ray lower than any incoming ray lower than 30 degrees that gets flattened parallel with the surface. People will often want this to be separate checkbox. Okay. So now I see. I guess I'm graduating from Cycles kernel to UI. Made an overpost about it. Separating into two flags wouldn't be a breaking change, but supports both solutions and not optimal, and see to adding the UI soon. But when is the best time to work on submit breaking changes? As soon as I mean, if it's a PR, as soon as possible. And if I mentioned it earlier in the show, the 4.5 release, which is the current main, whatever you do, it will end up in main. So 4.5 it's a good moment to add compatibility for 5.0 and 4.5. So things keep working on both. So maybe have a look at that. And breaking changes only for big releases, so 5.0. Sadek says, hello Pablo, whose penguins do I have to scratch to get easier way of mixing shaders in Blender? Wait. Penguins. Scratching. The current way of mixing shader nodes is very painful. It's a one node. What do you mean? If you have many contributing nodes, could we get a layer stack node like the one proposed in layer textures? Illustration here. Oh, this. Yeah, it is a bit painful. It is. We have lists though now. Like, we have actual lists. But yeah, I see what you mean. In the meantime, just maybe use the node wrangler. The control shift makes it easier, right? Like if you have multiple, you can control shift click, and then is it control? I usually do it without looking. So yeah, it's control shift, right click, drag, and yeah, it's a bit silly, but it makes connections easier, right? But I agree, it should be done. Would be nice. Hi, Pablo says Elk. Very happy to have BlenderToday a bit more frequent lately. A bit more frequent than once a year. Really miss the old Monday streams. Do you have an estimated time of arrival or updates about when we might see multi-pass support for compositing in the viewport with cycles? Or with Eevee at all, right? Multi-pass support. Not any updates, unfortunately. However, I know that it's now we have a full-time compositor developer working here, so I think later than before. It is a priority though to have the compositor working as close as possible in the viewport and in the offline render. So I wouldn't say it's too far off. Hopefully it's something that we use and many use. X Dragon says, hi Pablo, I'm happy to see the show return. Hope you have a great day. Hope you too. I know this most likely won't happen. Oh, what is it? But can we have the old style add modifier menu back? I know the new has search, but it still feels slower. Before, 2 clicks. Now 1 click. I think you mean the other way around. Now 2 clicks before 1 click. The move over cursor or move your hand to type what you want, then click on it feels too slow. The move over cursor or move your hand to type what you want, then click. I know you can add modifiers to the quick menu, but still doesn't fix the problem. Also, the new menu makes it harder to find a modifier if you don't know the name. Yes, at that I agree with you that if you don't know the name of the modifiers, then it is well, you don't have them at a glance. However, I don't think not many people know that you can do Shift A in here, and also because the status bar that is so helpful nowadays doesn't have that, and it's still even wrong. I'm in the world settings and it says set active modifier, so it's wrong. That's a bug. And it also doesn't show in this. It could show Shift A, that you can do Shift A and then type right away. So to me it is faster because you don't even have to click anywhere. Just move the mouse over, Shift A, mirror, boom, enter. It's done. That is much faster than having a wall of text, looking where's the column. I know that for many years you've developed a muscle memory, but it's not faster than Shift A and like bevel too. like how fast it is. And the next time you have search, it's right there, it's first in the list. So how about we have, yeah, everybody seems to love the model modifier UI. Julia, Joshua. For the old modifier, I actually made an add-on that, yeah, there is an add-on, and I think there is an extension probably. Is there an extension for modifier? Modifier tool, modifier list, maybe? Enhanced modifier UI now with edit mesh modifier. Profiling body, no. Do you know the profiling body? Super nice add-on. Tells you the calculation time of modifiers, so you can tell which modifiers are slow. Modifier tools. No, nobody. No, modifier tools doesn't seem to. Modifier special show hide apply selected. Ah, so when you have something, then it adds this button. Yeah, this is horrible. This UI is horrible. Many people use this add-on. What do you use it for? To apply all, to delete all, or any of these options? Because apply all and delete all, I agree, they are useful. We could have alt, well, we'd have alt A, control A, command A to apply, but not to apply all. That is useful, I agree. But we could make this into Blender and smaller. So I would like to hear a proposal that is not just adding the old menu back, because we know the downsides of not being able to search or not being able to add your own custom modifiers to the list, right? The moment you have your own custom modifiers, you don't want the other list. So what is a good trade-off of bringing back the old menu? What is it? New one is better, someone says. New modifier search is better. I don't miss it. I use the add-on for modifier search. I use this add-on. Searching is not optimal. Quackers, if you made an add-on to bring back that UI, make it an extension so we can use it from within Blender. We don't have to go to your page. We can just download it from here. And that applies to everything. Personally, I've been vastly faster using the new modifier menu. I search for the name as soon as I learn it. Maybe add a way to enable a list view. Yeah, but then you don't have the other options, because for the love of God, do not add the old modifier UI back. You see, it's very split actually. Search is good. Why not the buttons as well? Because Blender's UI is it's unfortunately hard to do. Of course, if we had we could have the list and search and add customs, the list will get pretty busy very quickly, and we would have gone for that. But unfortunately, Blender's code doesn't let you do that. So what would you do? Next, Selenar says, hello, I'm very interested in the upcoming animation layers project. It's 20 years overdue. Hey, are there any UX mockups as to how it will be implemented? As clunky as the NLA is, the ability to slide the tracks in time is really cool. I don't think there are, I'm not sure, but there are several code blog posts that you can search for. So if you do animation, you will see Layered Animation Workshop 2024, and there is this, which is great. They made it link to the image. They should use the feature to make it bigger. But yeah, there's a lot of text. There is about 0 images and mockups, but there is a lot of text. It's still a bit far into the future, but the idea is to have a new editor for it. Probably reuse the video sequence editor, because it looks much nicer than the NLA. But a similar concept. You stack actions. And the last question by Thomas Marcos, right on time, is 7 o'clock. Hi Pablo, there are ongoing discussions about improving render passes such as deep, sheen, coat, etc. This is the last limitation I'm aware of that hinders adoption VFX by VFX studios. So it's a question if there are ongoing discussions about improving the render passes. Well, it's not improving. They don't even exist, right? We don't have a pass for sheen or coat, do we? No. Not last time I checked. No. That would be awesome. I haven't heard any of this. If you know any VFX studio, large VFX studio, maybe you have a friend at Weta or I don't know, big studios, maybe they can contribute the feature. I don't think anyone would be against to have this kind of more passes and more flexibility in the Compositor. That would be awesome. But yes, let's wrap this up right here. I am glad we managed to make it to the end. I wasn't expecting this to be 2 hours again. I'm sorry about that, but it kind of, I didn't expect it, but it kind of just happened. But if you would like to have the 1 hour shows back, just watch 1 hour 1 week, then 1 hour the next Tuesday, and then the next Tuesday you have the new one. It's exactly the same. I like hanging out though. I like to read your comments and I like to chat. So I'm not trying to make it long on purpose or short on purpose. I just take the time that I think it's needed to see some of the features, to take the time to explain, to open Blender, to actually browse Blender together, to find out about weird things together, and even ask for your feedback, because that is why this is live. Otherwise I would just make a shorter TikTok and that's it. That's why we're live, and we will be live again in 2 weeks. The next show will happen on the 25th, is the next Tuesday. The 4th of March, next one is already gonna be in March, which is the release of Blender 4.4 on the 18th of March. So we still have one more release, but probably a lot of things will happen for Blender 4.5. There are 5.0. So stay tuned. Other than that, thanks everyone for hanging out in the chat. It's been super nice and very sweet comments. I will see you again in the next episode of Blender Today. Watch your ear holes, because I think the sound might be a bit loud. Otherwise, pump up the volume. Ciao. Thanks everyone. Till next time. Bye bye.